Hello everyone, AMHarbinger here, and today Sony and Naughty Dog released the first episode of a 4-part series called Inside The Last of Us Part 2. So more and more developers and publishers are doing this. They release a series of videos in anticipation for a high-profile release. The most recent example being Square Enix with Final Fantasy VII Remake. I believe that was also called Inside Final Fantasy VII Remake, which provided in-depth information of how the development team constructed Final Fantasy VII Remake. And now Naughty Dog is doing that with The Last of Us Part 2, and this game needs as much positive reception as possible because, well, recently with all the leaks and the copyright claims and the suppression of information, Sony doesn't look so good right now, and now there is increasingly more information being provided that they're actually padding the reviews for The Last of Us Part 2 on the digital storefront, specifically Sony's digital store, where there are like, I think, 500 reviews, which gave it a 5 out of 5, which is incredibly strange. But I mean, this was always, I didn't know a lot of people weren't aware of this, that if you pre-order a game, you can actually write a review for a game before it releases, which is, I always found it strange, but I thought everyone was aware of that, but I guess not. But anyway, this is the first part of the 4-part series, and the first part is going to deal with inside the story, so they're going to discuss the narrative. Second part, which is going to release on May 20th, is going to be the gameplay. 27th is going to be the details, and then the final video is going to be about the world, and The Last of Us Part 2 will officially launch on June 19th. So we're going to watch the first episode together and see, well, what this is, if this is good, great, or abysmally bad. So first off, comments have been disabled, obviously, to prevent people from posting spoilers, and there's also, well, there's no like or dislike ratio, but you can still like or dislike. So I'm going to warn people right now, I am going to talk about spoilers in this video because I am going to compare what is said on the leaked information to what is being told by Naughty Dog in this video. I haven't watched the video yet, but I will be talking about spoilers, so I want to make everyone aware of that. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. I will be talking about spoilers. I am going to talk about spoilers. This is your last warning. If you're still here, all right, let's watch it.
For The Last of Us Part 2, we're hoping to create a story that makes a commentary about the cycle of violence and how acts can beget other acts and show all the different aspects that could come out of it. Not necessarily good or bad, just the different consequences of one's actions.
I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
Okay, I have to stop it there. That one opening sequence just basically confirmed all the leaked rumors are true. Just, that's 100% just you telling us that all of that is true now.
I've heard a lot of people say, why make a sequel to The Last of Us? I didn't even hear the full pitch of the game, but just like the outline of what Neil was wanting to do with this game, I realized, oh, this is something we have to make. This, this isn't even an option. There's absolutely more to do here.
There's always the...
I actually, I wasn't aware of that opinion about not making a sequel about The Last of Us. I mean, I always thought they should make a sequel based on my interpretation of the ending because they had that cliffhanger right there that they had so much information they could piggyback off and just start a new game with Joel and Ellie's relationship and everything that goes after him lying to Ellie about what transpired at the Fireflies hospital, whether she would have agreed with Joel's actions, which a lot of people, including myself, agree that she would have been furious with Joel, probably even hate him for what he did. But they did have a lot of information they could have piggybacked after The Last of Us 1, with not only the infection and the characters. I mean, they could have even decided to not include Joel and Ellie and just decide to include some new set of characters. Either way, I could understand where a lot of people stated, no, we don't need a sequel because the first game ended in such a profound way that just leaving it like that would have been perfect. So I understand both sides of the story, but I'm happy they're making a sequel. So let's go on.
Fear that, when you made something great and you're going to go back to it, you're going to mess it up. You're going to mess what made it so special. The test for us was like, can we come up with a story that could, one, stand on its own and be meaningful and have weight? The same kind of feeling we had when we came upon the story for the first one. But also now, because it's part 2, it has to be additive. It has to take the first one into consideration, that if you played both, then you get like a bigger narrative.
The thing that Neil really cared about, that the studio really cared about, is honoring Ellie and Joel specifically, and their journey as characters. What is the honest next steps that they would take? What are the truest moves that we could see them do?
The Last of Us 2 expands on the first game, both in the relationship between Ellie and Joel, the relationships that we see Ellie having, and just the greater world that we're in, and we see more of it.
It's a genre story about this infection that turns people into these crazy monster-like humanoids. The core of it is about these really intimate, intense relationships.
Just gonna put right there, Ellie's wearing a mask. She doesn't need a mask, which means she hasn't told her partner that she's immune. I'm pretty sure they've already shown that in other trailers, but I'm just noticing that now. So she still hasn't told her about, yeah, I'm immune. So I guess she's keeping that secret.
At the start of the game, Ellie is 19. She is living in a safe, secure community.
We're coming in, 25 years after the outbreak. And you, as Ellie, live in Jackson, which is this kind of somewhat tranquil town in this really messed up reality.
She has real community now. She has people who love and care for her, willing to sacrifice for her.
That was actually a major character point for Ellie. Ellie was born after the infection, so she had no idea about the world prior to the cordyceps infection. That's why she was so fascinated by all these advertisements about a woman who would remain thin despite having plentiful food available, and she would call that stupid, and she would be fascinated by all these things that she was about the old world. So this idea of her having finally a community and people who care about her is a major character development, because before that was also another major factor. Ellie's life was full of people who would constantly die or leave her because she was in a very precarious situation. She was part of the Fireflies, technically, with everything that was transpiring, and Joel taking her to a new Firefly settlement. So the only constant in her life, the biggest constant in her life, was Joel. And that connection is really what brought them together, with Joel also acting the same way, keeping everyone at arm's distance after he lost his daughter, and he just doesn't care about anyone or anything. And he's fallen out with his brother, Tommy. So yeah, a lot of stuff happened. So we can see here that Ellie has a much more, I guess, profound connection with people now, as opposed to before, where she would just not care about as much about other people other than Joel.
Joel is also very settled down.
He's now part of a town. He's no longer a smuggler. Actually, the town relies on this guy that is a very capable killer, and that's something these towns in this world need.
He's right about that.
Dina, where are you?
And then Jackson and Ellie are shaken by a violent event. It really changes Ellie's day-to-day life, and now just living is no longer enough. Like, there's these people that have wronged her, and she wants retribution. You as a player are going to want retribution for what these people have done. And then you go off on this journey that leads you to Seattle, where now you're like stuck in the city that has these warring factions, and they're both fighting over the spoils of Seattle, and you're stuck there in the middle looking for this very specific group that has wronged you. And that's the concept of the story. And then it takes you on all sorts of twists and turns in Naughty Dog fashion.
Just confirmed again. All those leaks are true.
I know even within the studio, we've had a lot of philosophical arguments about some of the events and what happens in the game. And I think in this one might be more divisive than the first game, in a very kind of exciting way that I think it raises those interesting philosophical questions and asks the players to interpret some of the material that's there and see where they stand on those questions.
that's the end of the trailer. So Neil Druckmann was basically talking to everyone who saw those teasers in that final statement, because this has been incredibly divisive among the community. A lot of people are unsure how they feel about this game. A lot of people hate what this game possibly will be, because I say possibly because even though they low-key confirmed everything about the rumors in not only this video but the last video and their indirect actions, they are talking directly to us, stating that you have to play the game to fully experience it, and I am on that side. Video games need to be played in order to fully appreciate and understand the emotional impact they have on the player or the experience they can provide. Anyone can tell you what happens in Doom Eternal, but unless you play the game, it's not going to have the same impact. And I feel like that's the same way with The Last of Us Part 2. I stated this in my previous reaction video, that The Last of Us 1 was a cliche story. It is. It's a zombie apocalypse, this time with fungus. And yeah, the reason it was so well put together was because of the writing and the characters and the execution of all these things. It could have easily gone south, but because all those things connected and became this incredible experience, a lot of people, including myself, kind of ignored all the lingering issues, such as the heavy linear structure of the gameplay, how you can basically manipulate the AI, how the infected, while intimidating, ultimately tend to fall short once you find out how to exploit them and manipulate them. But I don't know. Right now, I've also stated this, it seems like The Last of Us Part 2 is more about the characters than the world, and I just don't like it when heavy narrative games do that. The world should always be first and the characters should be second. It creates that level of excitement that anyone can die and anything can transpire. But I don't know, right now they just really confirmed everything. I mean, I haven't really talked about spoilers right now, but just in case I did and I was unaware of it, I did warn people about that before I started the video. But anyway, I kind of like how the game is turning out. I still have to play it. I mean, I'm not happy about the leak or the leaked information. That may be true. I keep saying maybe because I have to play the game to be absolutely sure. But for now, I am looking forward to this. I know a lot of people are going to be disgruntled with me. I did pre-order it on the PlayStation Network. I canceled my physical release because of, the world being in chaos right now. But I have it pre-ordered and I can't wait to play it. And really, maybe my opinion might change. Maybe it might be a great game. Maybe it might be mediocre. Maybe it'll be terrible. But I have faith in Naughty Dog. They've delivered some great games over the years. And yeah, let's see if it turns out well. So leave a like and hope for the next video that it'll be even better. But anyway, that's the video. Tell me about your opinion on The Last of Us Part 2. Are you looking forward to it? Or have you canceled your pre-order? Do you have no interest in it? Or do you think that it'll be one of the best games of this generation? I mean, anything's possible. Anyway, like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you all next time. Stay awesome, everyone.